So the day you are watching this is January 7th of 2025, which means we have reached the end of the first week of a new year. But this is a year unlike previous years where we can finally say this is the year to expect a brand new Nintendo next generation console, the Switch 2, the same topic that the internet, including myself, has not shut up about over the course of the past 18 months. And of course, as we all know, this month in January of 2025 is a month that a lot of people seem to think that Nintendo is going to finally reveal the Switch 2 because, as we all know, they confirmed last year, early in 2024, that they were going to show us the console before the end of the fiscal year, which ends in March, and that is now only 2 months away, and so time is ticking. We are literally counting the days until we see this thing. Now, granted, we don't actually know that they're going to show it to us in January. They certainly can take until March 31st. What if they wait until the actual last day of this fiscal year to show us the console? It's not likely, none of us expect it, but it's technically possible. I think with the Donkey Kong Returns HD port releasing on the Switch sometime in the next couple of days or week. I actually don't know when it releases. I think it's like the 16th or so. You know, like I said, in the next week. I think they want to wait to get that out. They also have Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition releasing on the current Switch on March 20th, which is right before the end of the reveal deadline. So what they're going to do with their timing will be very strange. However, the reveal timing is no longer the topic of conversation. That's not what this video is about. What I want to talk about is another wider industry problem that we all know about, we've all suffered through, and at this point, so close to the reveal, I think most of us are starting to chew our fingernails out of nervousness trying to anticipate this, and it is scalpers, it's bots, and it's just trying to buy a freaking Switch 2 as soon as they're available to pre-order. I think I speak for most of us when I say that this freaks me out. And it angers me. It's one of those things where the simple fact that we live in a world where this is a reality is really frustrating, and it honestly pisses me off. Like, when a company is going to release a product that you know you're going to want, why can't you anticipate that this company will make enough for you to very comfortably be able to buy? Like, it's a first world problem. Oh, I want this material thing. Please make enough of this material thing for me to buy with my money that I'm just going to waste my free time on doing. Like, playing video games is a hobby. It's not the most important thing in the world. We all know this. But at the same time, it's a hobby we all care about. I certainly care about it. I like using my free time to play video games. That's why I have a YouTube channel to be able to talk about it. And so, yes, Nintendo is my favorite company in this industry. The Switch 2 is going to be so incredibly exciting. And it would just be nice to know that Nintendo acknowledges what the demand will be, which they should know, by the way, make enough for them to be available to people. And I don't even know how you'd go about this, but again, find some way to combat the stupid botting and scalping problem that just infects this whole industry. It's funny because this is not something that used to be a problem, and I can say that as somebody who, and many of you have heard me say this in the past, including pretty recently actually, but I worked for GameStop as an assistant manager from 2002 to 2005, so a huge chunk of the sixth generation, most of the sixth generation. I left right before the Xbox 360 released. And, you know, that was a time where when the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox had launched, going into that next generation, because even after I left GameStop in 2005, I still went on to buy things like a Wii and a 360 and whatnot. The Wii was certainly hard to find because demand was higher than Nintendo anticipated, but in general, during those eras in the 90s and into the early 2000s, if a new piece of hardware came out, if it wasn't a special edition, if it was just a regular 360 or a regular PlayStation 2 or whatever, when they released, you could just go buy them. Yes, we might have to wait in line to reserve things in person, But that was also a time where botting wasn't going to be an issue because it wasn't about getting online to reserve things that way. You had to do it in person, and we would just go and wait in line. I remember when a Halo Reach Xbox 360 came out, and I just waltzed into GameStop the day that the pre-orders were available, and I just said, I want one of those Halo Xbox 360s. And they said, okay. And they took my $50 and I just had one. And they had been available for weeks upon weeks. It was not a freaking challenge to buy it. Nowadays, that is simply not the case. And for the last several years, and the last, I would say, 2 or 3 generations, we know that every time a new piece of hardware comes out, or some kind of a special edition piece of hardware, like I said, we know we are going to be battling the rest of planet Earth just to pre-order one, let alone walk into a store or go onto a website and just purchase it. It absolutely sucks, man. It's terrible. It's a dumb problem to have. The industry is huge. A lot of people buying stuff, so I understand it can be hard to meet demand. And like within reason, that's understandable. But I think the problem is we know that our struggles to buy things like a new PlayStation 5 or Series X or the Switch 2 we anticipate, we know that the real struggles to buy them is not really just the normal demand of people who want to buy one for themselves. It is the botting and the scalping. And again, I'm not going to pretend to have the answers to this, but when we focus this back on the Switch 2 situation, Nintendo, I think, should be in a position, unlike with the Nintendo Wii that I referenced a few minutes ago here. Because again, the Wii was a surprise that it was as popular as it was. Such a runaway smash. Yes, I waited in line with 20 people or something in front of a GameStop to pre-order my Nintendo Wii back in 2005 or 2006 when the pre-orders became available. But whatever 20 or so people were in line, we all got to pre-order one. It wasn't a crazy fight to be able to get a Wii. We just had to wait in line for an hour before the store opened. So that was normal demand of real people who wanted to just own the thing, waiting to buy it, and there was enough available. Then it released, it was a runaway smash, and yes, it was hard to find for a long time because, again, Nintendo was surprised by the demand. With the Switch 2, I don't think any of us have a reason to believe that Nintendo would be surprised by any demand for the Switch 2. Nintendo knows demand is high. In the era of YouTube and weirdo dorks like me running YouTube channels talking about the Switch 2 all the time and people on Twitter and social media sites talking about it, Nintendo is a smart company. The Switch has sold 146 million units. They know demand for the Switch 2 is going to be astronomical, so there really isn't an excuse, I would say, for them to be caught off guard by the number of people who want to Switch 2. And so I know a lot of companies and a lot of websites, they're trying in some ways to combat scalping, and they put you in these queues and they limit to one purchase per person and per checkout. And I think some websites maybe have started to do like verification elements to confirm you're like a real person and not a bot. And obviously those can be circumvented, but they've put things in place to try. And obviously, like, I commend the effort, even if it's not enough to get the job done. Trying anything certainly helps because it shows that they care that the right people are getting them, when in theory, these companies have no reason to care. Because if you think about it, once it's purchased at the price that they're going to sell it for, they technically have no reason to care if it's going to go up on eBay for $2,000 or if it's going to go to somebody who actually wants one. All they really need to care about as a business is just making the initial sale. So the fact that anyone, any company has been trying to combat scalping to any degree is certainly nice. But again, the problem still remains. And with the Switch 2 release coming sometime this year, we're all nervous as hell about how we're going to be able to go to the store we want or get online at the time we want and be able to just buy the thing we want. Here are 2 things I think Nintendo can do, really needs to do, that can help get ahead of this in some way. It obviously won't stop the problem, but I would love, as somebody who is like counting the minutes until I can pre-order my Switch frickin' 2, 2 things I think they need to do. 1, do not let GameStop force these bundles on people, okay? That's something that is really annoying, and it's how I had to buy a PS5 for my brother, or no, for 2 friends of mine. My brother was with me at the time. He was visiting. I went into a store after the PS5 had been out for a while, and like GameStop was forcing you to buy bundles, and I had to buy 2 bundles and tell my friends, hey, it's more money because I had to buy bundles, but I have a PS5 for you. So That's something that they do. They also do it for the release of consoles. You want to pre-order a PS5? You want to pre-order a Switch 2? You have to buy, instead of the $400 it's selling for, you have to buy $650 worth of crap you might not want or need in order to pre-order it. So we all know that that's a thing that happens. GameStop is the worst offender. Nintendo should be like going into a deal with GameStop. Like, you cannot do that. Just sell people Switch 2s and whatever they want for pre-order. If they're in the store the day the pre-orders go available and all they want is a Switch 2, just a Switch 2, screw your stupid bundles, get them out of here. The other thing they need to do, and this is critical, and every company needs to start doing this as well, starting with Nintendo with this console generation release for the Switch 2, is let everyone know well ahead of time when it's going to be available to pre-order. Don't do this like it's going to be revealed tomorrow and then sometime between 30 minutes and 2 hours the following day, depending on the time zone you're in, it might be available on these sites, but it won't be available on these sites. You know, they make it so wishy-washy. I remember this with the PS5 and the Series X launch. Like, don't do that. Nintendo, tell us like 2 weeks ahead of time. On this day, at this time, local time zone, on this website, or these websites, just worldwide, whatever. This is when and where you can buy your Switch 2. You can pre-order your Switch 2. This surprise thing where everyone's running around checking 5 links every 10 seconds and sharing things, and I got mine, but I didn't get this, and it says they're out, and I had it in my queue, and I went to check out, and then it disappeared from my queue, blah, 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 blah. The whole thing is a freaking disaster, as we know. It's literally, this whole video is me yelling about how much of this process is a disaster. But we're all so familiar with it that I hope that I'm speaking for most of us here when I exude this anger and frustration. And so Nintendo, don't make it a freaking mystery when it's going to be available for pre-order. Just make it very clear when it will be available, where we can go. If it's every single retailer on earth will have it available at the same time, great. Just tell us. Fight the bots with whatever verification systems you can. Don't let GameStop do pre-order bundles. There are ways. Oh, and make plenty of Switch 2s, right? So these things collectively make for a much smoother pre-order launch than anything we've ever seen over the past 10 or 15 years. If Nintendo does these couple of things, it'll be a huge win for everyone. Nintendo, you will not struggle to sell Switch 2s without bots. If you make 10 million Switch 2s, there will be 10 million actual people, no bots, no scalpers, 10 million real people who want to own the Switch 2 themselves who will pre-order it. So, yes, I'm ranting, I'm rambling, I'm going crazy in this because as I talk about it, I get kind of more heated about the chaos of the situation. But I just really want and need Nintendo to make the pre-order and purchase situation with the Switch 2 somewhat reasonably easy to do. Again, normal high demand is fine. And I think that if a lot of us know that any struggles to find a Switch 2 we're running into are just based on actual demand and not false demand from bots and scalpers, it'll soften the blow. It'll still suck, but at least it's real organic people trying to just buy themselves a damned Switch 2. And if it's not that, if we know that we're running into this, Nintendo didn't make enough, bots are getting to these things, they're for sale for $2,000 on eBay the day after the pre-orders go up, all this crap. If that happens, it's not going to all be on Nintendo because the internet does just suck by default. But the whole point of this video and all of this yelling and ranting I'm doing is to say that Nintendo, you have plenty of time and knowledge to get ahead of this to a degree and to combat some of these issues. Anywho, hahe, clearly I've had some big feelings and emotions to release about this because I don't even know when we're going to see the damn Switch 2. I mean, January, February, March, who knows? But again, I came into this video knowing that I wanted to discuss this frustrating topic and lay out all of these reasons and bullet points, how Nintendo can get ahead of it and make this easier and yada yada. But as I alluded to, the more I talked about it out loud, even just to a microphone, I'm not talking to, there's no one in the room with me, it's just me and the microphone. The more I talked about it into this microphone, the more frustrated I got because I just kept thinking about how stupid it is that this is even a problem nowadays, how annoying it is that bots and scalpers even exist in the first place, and people feed into it by buying these things for too much money, buying overpriced eBay listings and whatnot. And also the fact that Nintendo does have a chance via all these ways that I listed to get ahead of this problem and combat a lot of it. You'll never combat 100% of it. I'm not expecting Nintendo to combat all of it, but they have this path to combating a large amount of it, and I'm just hoping that Nintendo chooses that path. Like, don't make 2.5 million Switch 2s for launch day. Make 5 to 10 million Switch 2s, Nintendo. Literally make that many. That's what you need to do. Okay, render scalpers useless. Just like with the PS5 Pro, scalpers bought those things, and it turned out no one really wanted it, which is not what the case with the Switch 2 would be, but basically there wasn't the demand for scalpers to sell the PS5 Pro for more than it already sold for at $700. Scalpers had to sell them for $700, the same price you would buy them for in a store. And so if Nintendo can meet the demand or even somehow exceed the demand, then even people who buy them and scalp them, they're going to have to sell them for the normal price, and so no one's going to be out extra money trying to buy a Switch 2, and so... Anyway, I still keep going on about this because I just care about it so much. And I think it's because I'm a Nintendo fan, and I'm a Switch fan, and when the Switch 2 is available, I want to buy my Switch 2. I just want to do it. Look, Nintendo, here's my money. Don't make this a complicated transaction. Me have money, you take money, me have Switch. Okay? Let's make this a caveman transaction. It is that freaking simple. Okay. I need to end this video. I've devolved to a caveman analogy at the end. Clearly, this topic has run its course. You guys know what I'm saying. I know that you agree with me. And so, yeah, these are my thoughts. I hope that this is a simple transaction, and that's about it.